let's welcome Professor Gonzalo.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
All right, Prof, we are
Uh,
ready for you.
yes. Well, I hope you can see my screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Well, first of all, I wanted to start with a big thank you because, well, here in Argentina, we're finishing the school year. Probably in some other parts of the world, you are in the middle of the of this year and it's all the same. We are trying to see what to do in a post-pandemic time. Some of you have started school just a couple of months ago, and some others we are finishing the year. But all the same, it's a very challenging time. Okay, so you raised the challenge as teachers, as educators. So I really want to say a big thank you to all of you. Okay, because it's been really rough and we had to sometimes with our own tools we just face the situation, and probably sometimes without any kind of directions from above we've been able to work with what we had. Okay, so really thank you. Them talking about men in the classroom, I would like to focus on this idea that is always someone following our steps. There is always someone who is just looking at ours as us, as teachers, as educators, and somehow would like to follow our steps. And I chose this idea of a bridge because we're always trying to get somewhere else as educators. We're always trying to push or to move our classes to a different position, okay? And it's very important that we get to know where we are now in order to know where we are going to and what steps we have to take to get to that place, from going to A to B, okay? We want to see what steps we need to follow. And that's planning, and that's thinking, and that's having a forward view of what we have in the classroom, okay? And that's also related to hope. And I believe that's a part of our task as an educator, to bring hope to our students, okay? So there's always someone following our steps, so we should be careful with that. We should bear that in mind. And bridges are what we cross to get somewhere else. And also we work as bridges for our students because we are helping them go from one place to another. And also we're connecting. We're connecting places, we're connecting culture, we are connecting uh, communities. So as we connect, we work as bridges. And I believe that's very important to think of us as bridges in education. There's this quotation that I chose to share because we are in very difficult and uncertain times. So we cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust the sails. I have already shared this before with another group of teachers, and I believe that's part of our work. Okay, we adjust the sails. Okay, we are captain of our boats with our students, and it's great to know that we have a team with us working. So we cannot direct the wind, we cannot direct the world, we cannot tell the world what to do, but we can adjust the sails in our classroom to get to a better pier, to a better horizon. So going into ourselves and going into our inner self, I believe that's one of the most important strengths that we have as human beings and even as educators. That is that we can reflect on ourselves. And that's part of this. Okay, so what's filling your bucket today and what's draining it? There are lots of things that fill our bucket in the sense that there are a lot of things that fill us with energy, with motivation, with engagement, and with commitment, finally. But there are other things that are draining our energies out of ourselves. And it's important that we recognize that. We recognize what's filling us with energy and what's draining us out. Okay, so that's something I wanted to share, that nowadays as teachers we have lots of tasks to carry out, lots of report cards and things to fill in. But it's important that we as human beings reflect on what's giving us energy and what is probably useless to us. Okay. This is a moment I wanted to share. That is when I got a certificate from the University of Oregon, and that was 2 years, a year and a half ago. That was a scholarship that I won, and there I learned this power of the reflective teacher. Okay, and mainly we reflected on our personal language teaching philosophy because I'm a teacher of English language, but it can be applied to any other science. Okay, but it's important that we reflect on our personal teaching philosophy. Okay, what do we value as teachers? What do we value as educators? What is important to us? Okay, so because we will focus on that in the classroom. Okay, and that should be flexible at some point. It should be flexible because not only that we have it, if we have a fixed set, a mindset, it's hard to adapt. So we need to be flexible all the same in this context that we are. So I have been reading about Alan Suklami and other teachers such as Matt and other teachers. This is important to the 21st century education, okay? What we want our students to be educated, okay? So we want them to learn. And some will say that education nowadays is to learn how to adapt to society, how to adapt to the context, to a really uncertain and changeable context. So that's part of the 21st century education, okay? Collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity, those aspects that are not named in any subject, but we need to teach them, okay? And something else that I learned from this experience with the University of Oregon and the American English Institute, it was to think of future goals, okay, as educators. It's not only that we want our students to finish the school year, but what do we want them and what do we want for myself as an educator for the future, okay? So it's not only looking at things backwards, as sometimes we do when we have to assess our students, but also to look forward because we need to dream of our students and our classes and ourselves too. So it's important for us to have higher hopes, to have higher hopes. That's a very personal thing. That's a very personal aspect. It's not something that we are taught, okay? But we need to go deep into ourselves and try to find those strengths in order to be hopeful. Something that some might sound like something basic is not basic. It's something that it's essential. It's essential nowadays. And I have shared this before, but I wanted to share this again. Philippe Perrenot in 1984, he talked about new competencies for teachers, and they are more present than ever. Okay, they are more present than ever because it's not on something that he talked about 20 something years ago, but it's something that we need to encourage nowadays. And this has to do with men in the classroom too, because one of these competencies, there you have a boat, a little boat that says teamwork. And that's what I was talking about before, that we need to encourage people to work in teams. And that means men and women working together, okay, in education. Um, and I believe that each genre brings the best that they could to the classroom. So we can bring nurturing from one side, but we can bring leadership from another one. Or we can bring, I don't know, caring from one side, and from another side we can bring hope and resilience. As I was saying before. So teamwork is essential because each of us brings something unique to the classroom, okay? And inviting men into the classroom also implies that we encourage them to act, okay? Here in Argentina, as I told you, in the lower level of education, not lower, but in the primary school, we have more women in the classroom. But I believe that we can all work together. We can all work together. And even if we are few men in school, at school, we can work together. There's no need for one to be dominating another, but we can all bring what we have. And sometimes leadership can be shared, or sometimes leadership can share, it can change. Once a certain female teacher can be the leader of the project. In another case, the male teacher could be the leader of a project. So this idea of leadership and teamwork can be encouraged into the classroom. Because as Philip Reynolds said, we need to foster learning situations and progressions in those situations. And that's something that is learned, but it's also practiced. Okay, it's not only a matter of learning from a book, but it's also a matter of taking that into action in the classroom. We need ethics as educators. Okay, it's not just a laissez-faire. It's not something just letting go whatever comes happens into the classroom. No, we need to be guided as we have a compass there with ethics. We need to be guided by ethics in the classroom. We also need to learn differentiation techniques, okay? How to get to the same goal with different techniques, okay? So not all students learn in the same way. And I know that Olanzo Kami can share a lot about that because he has tried and also Matt have shared lots of techniques on their websites and on the social media, lots of techniques on how to get to probably the same goal, but in different ways. We need that too in the classroom. Well, Olanzo Kami shared about the introduction of technology, ICTs in the classroom. And that is another aspect that men can make headway there, okay? And technology in the classroom also makes people get closer because we are somehow erasing distances and sometimes time, okay, because we can work asynchronously with students. Well, professional development, it's another aspect. I decided to put there a backpack because in this professional development, we acquire new skills and we acquire new aspects to bring into the classroom. And we should be aware of that what we have can be good for the moment, but we also need to get a little step further. Then engagement, not only of the students, but also engagement of families. And as we know, it's important that men and women talk to the family. And some families feel more comfortable when a male teacher talks to them, and some other families feel more comfortable when a female teacher talks to the family. So it's important to work in teams again, okay, and see what's better for the family, okay, and also learn management skills because we are in institutions that is not only in hands of the administrator or headmaster or headmistress, but also as teachers, we need to learn how to manage the resources that we have. And probably some of us live in countries where resources are very scarce. So we need to learn how to manage that. And I have seen great things that teachers have done everywhere. Well, all the Global Teacher Prize finalists have done amazing things, and even the winner of the Global Teacher Prize 2020, they have all shown these amazing ways to take very few resources, very scarce resources, and to share them and to wisely use them in the classroom. And that's something that I admire. Okay, so what's next? That's a good question. What's next for each teacher? That is individual, but let's try to always work with another one. So what's next? That's a question to answer. But who are you working with? That's important. And we have another colleague, another person to make a team to work together and to find out what's next and how to walk, okay, from where we are to the next step where we want to get to. And I don't know. Yes. I decided to bring in a quotation a quote that I love. Every child deserves a champion, some adult who will never give up on them. That's by Rita Pearson some years ago in a TED Talk. That really changed my viewpoint of education. I never thought that I would be a champion if I became a teacher, but once I listened to her, I realized that we can be a champion, and I'm sure each of you are a great champion for all of your students. So I encourage you all to be a champion, to be that person that will never, ever give up on our students, but always bring them new opportunities. So if you ever had the chance to watch her, Rita Pearson's TED Talk, please do it. And well, there we have my email to be in touch, my Facebook, and I wanted to wish you all a Merry, Merry Christmas because, well, from my point of view, this little baby that is coming to our hearts in Christmas is also the main reason for all of this. So thank you a lot.
Thank you very much, Prof. So our theme for this conference is inspiring men to their next level. Amazingly, we have a lot of women here. And so inspiring men and women to their next level. Thank you very much, Prof. If you have any question, just leave it in the chat box. And then when we are done, Prof is going to answer all your questions. Or you want to know about what he's been doing in the classroom for the past 22 years, just drop your question in the chat box and he will answer it. Now we are moving on to Sami. Samuel, I'm finding it difficult to mention your other name. Oh, Sami.
So it's okay, I understand. The name seems like it's a super name.
Yeah, Sami, we want to know what your experience. How are you going to inspire the men to their next level? Because I've been following your progress, and I must say I'm super proud of you for how far you've got to and how far you are pushing the teaching agenda. And so let's hear your version. How are we going to inspire the men in the classroom to their next level? We are ready to listen to you.
All right, thank you. Let me quickly confirm here. Can you hear me clearly?
Sure, I can.
Okay,
if
perfect.
You can just
thank
give me
you.
a hand.
I can hear you clearly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I must say a very huge thank you to Professor Gonzalo. I've been wishing to listen to you, and sincerely know that I had this interruption of network somewhere there. I missed the link today. So I'm going to look for the video. Please make the video available for us, please. I learned a lot. Let me quickly reiterate I learned, and then that will also be the background to what I'm going to be talking about. I caught you saying we cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust the sail. Wow,
Yeah.
that is the truth. And that is what we do in our classroom. And that's the foundation to exactly what I'm going to be talking to men about today. And also recognizing what is filling your energy and what is draining your energy. And this is what personally.
Please mute your microphone. Please mute your microphone.
All right. So I'm going to start on that foundation of the fact that we cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust the sail. And I'm going to be talking about 4 major points. Sorry, I don't have my slides here. I'm just directly from the church here now. So I'm going to be talking and discussing with you. I believe that should be understood, please. You know, a prof is a prof. So give it to me. The first thing I would like to talk about to men on every other figure around is learn how to intellectualize your creativity. Learn how to intellectualize your creativity. Yeah, all teachers are creative. We bring amazing things into our classrooms. We do a lot of things. We do stuff that are just out of this world. But the point is, how many of us are intellectualizing it? What do I mean by intellectualizing it? When I started teaching, I discovered students wouldn't learn well if I didn't reduce stress. If I enter a class and I just make them laugh, I don't make them relax, my students will not want to learn well. So I discovered that, okay, one of the things I can do is to sing a little bit. Matt, that's nice. To sing a little bit, is to dance in class, is to crack jokes around things. Then I look at it as, Tom, I can't continue this way. People are asking me, how am I doing it that I'm getting the students' attention? I've been invited to seminars to talk about my style, and I tell them I make them laugh in class. I make them happy. And they're wondering, make them happy how? Then I came across this word, that is edutainment. I said, yes, that is what I'm using in my classroom, edutainment. Yes, I sing in my class. Yes, like other teachers too. I rap, I dance. I use different dance steps in my country. We have different dance steps. We have what's called shaku shaku. Shaku shaku is where you use your hand and you go like this with your leg and the rest. So I create things around that to teach them how to write their essay. And I look at it, okay, can I call this a name? Yeah, it has a name. So whatever style you're using in your classroom, please kindly call it an intellectualized name. Intellectualize it. Make it something that is presentable anytime, any day. I called mine edutainment. It is called edutainment, quite all right. It is called fun-based learning. I mean, it's presentable at that time. It is presentable at that time. And that makes me to also say this, that there is no particular, when it comes to teaching, we all need to just achieve the results. There is no how to achieving the results. There is no lay down rules that Mr. Teacher, when you come to the classroom, this is how to do it. No. Once you can achieve the result, go ahead and achieve the result for us in a right and in a legal way. So we can have
Network challenge, I guess.
nobody tells us how to teach, to go about it. And no matter how it's intellectually based, it is. I'm back. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. I lost my connection briefly there. All right, I'm back now. All right. So I started by saying that if you intellectualize your creativity, then domesticate your pedagogical approaches. Now, I said, no matter how Professor Gonzalo wants to use ICT in his country, I cannot copy him 100%. I have to look at my students and say, okay, this is how ICT should be used in Nigeria and the FCT in my own local area. So whatever style you are using, don't just take the style hook, line, and sinker. Differentiation, project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, whatever style of teaching you want to use, intellectualize it, make it a local thing, make it into your local content and pass it down to the student. So that's, and thirdly, there as male teachers, please let's learn, let's have this as our watchword all the time. Learn, unlearn, and then relearn. Or let me twist it the other way around. Learn how to unlearn, then learn, and then relearn. That should be our way. Please, there are some styles that are archaic. Education is not limited to a particular way. These children are growing. The way I was taught 20 years ago, I cannot teach 21st century students like that. So I need to unlearn those things that I was taught, the way I was taught, the way I was disciplined, what discipline was in 20th century. I need to unlearn them. Then in the process of unlearning, then I need to learn the 24th century skills. Interestingly, we need to find a way of inculcating more of soft skills, essential skills of communication, of creativity, of ICT integration, of a whole lot of soft skills into our students, a whole lot of them into our students. So you need to learn, you need to unlearn, and we need to keep on learning, keep on updating our knowledge. Now I'm here now as a facilitator or as a speaker, and today now I've just learned a whole lot from Professor Gonzalo. And the same thing too Make learning your watchword. Keep on learning and relearning. Nothing says you cannot learn what you have learned before and you cannot learn it again. Always fresh all the time. And finally, I'm going to talk about, we've mentioned it anyway, application of technology. It's interesting to know that in Africa, when the lockdown started, so many of our students were truly locked down. Education was locked down in them because we could not apply technology early. So let's, in everything we do, in our assessment, in our lesson presentation, in our recording of scores and the rest, please let's apply technology. And by so doing, you will discover that you can teach all the time. I think it was Divine that said it there, or Matt, that even when we close 2 o'clock, you can still have something to do with the ICT. You can teach coding. You can do other things with ICT there. So the same thing to male teachers, apply technology more. And when we do this, do you know the female teachers tend to rely on us when it comes to application of technology? Well, I'm talking about
Yeah.
my own country, and I believe it's applicable to an extent in other parts of the world too. That oftentimes female teachers will come to you that, Mr. Samuel, can you put me through how to use Microsoft Form? Can you show me how to use Teams? Can you show me how to use Zoom and the rest? So they really want us to lead, then they can follow. So we cannot just take it for granted when it comes to application of technology or integration of ICT in our classroom. So in conclusion, I'll just go over my point again. Intellectualize your creativity. Whatever style you are using, please make it an intellectually based stuff. Then whatever style you also want to use again too that is already existing, kindly domesticate it. Make it fit into the student experience. And learn, unlearn, and relearn. Unlearn, learn, and relearn. Keep on learning. And any old style you have, please debunk it from your head. You cannot teach 21st century students with 20th century method. And finally, apply technology. Thank you for being a teacher to all male teachers around. You are highly celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Learn, unlearn, and relearn. Is that it? Thank you very much. Thank you so much. In fact, I'll put a question in the chat box. You will share your process with us, how you made it through Teacher Prize. That'll be for another day to inspire other teachers to also pursue that journey. Yeah, so prepare to share that presentation with us next time. Let's move straight away to Matt. Matt, are you ready?
Yeah, I may have to be quickly because I may have to take care of my little boy.
Yay.
I have a short presentation and introduction here that I can share. But yeah, this is fantastic. So I could do a quick share screen here, and there you go. Yeah. So there we go. So you can see my screen now, right?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So this is just a little bit, and also I have processes and procedures I can share in the future as far as what I'm talking about, but I just want to give a quick glimpse into it, yeah? So
Okay.
the way, whether, regardless of where you're teaching or if you're a guy or a girl, the idea is using curiosity as a connector or as a tool for that learning, right? And we've heard, even on this call, we've heard things like project-based learning. I'm trying to think, there's project-based learning, there's all kinds of different, there's even fun-based learning now, right? So curiosity-based learning is meant to be a connective, it's not competitive, right? It's a way to bring these different types of learning together, all through the lens of curiosity. So just to give you a little walkthrough is, I always like to start out with questions. So for this particular group, the question to start out with, I know we're talking, about men in education, but the question is like, what if there were no teachers? And the idea is just to stand here and pause just for a second and to truly think about, yeah? Oh, I thought I heard something. So think about like, what if there were no teachers? And just pause for a second and truly imagine what that world would be like, right? And I'm sure because of who we are, we'd all be sad. But if you go beyond that, I also think because of who we are, everyone on this call, it doesn't mean they would stop learning, right? Would any of you just stop learning if there were no teachers? Would any of you tell your kids, don't go to school, don't learn? We would find ways, right? In fact, like what would you do? How would you go about learning? And if you can pause, and if we had more time, it'd be great to sit down and, we could write some of these out in a deeper investigation. But the idea is you start with this question or this curiosity and allows you to dive deeper into it. And again, if we had more time here, we could talk about what if there were no teachers, and we could come up with a lot of things. I know personally, I would keep learning. How would I keep learning? Well, I would find what I'm interested in and what's valuable to me, right? What do I need to learn in order to provide for my family, right? What am I interested in that could help fuel my learning? Where would I go to do that learning, right? And once we figure out all these details, we can put them back together from that what if into what is, and then look at those details and say, all right, well, how do educators fit those details, or how do schools provide those details, right? And then even for this talk, even how do men uniquely fit those details, or how could men provide those details for that deeper learning? So we always start out with the question. But then the other thought is, what if the most important characteristic of learn, what is the most important characteristic of learning? So after you explore that question of what if there were no teachers, then we can, again, curiosity-based learning. We're not giving answers. The focus is purely on asking the right questions. And by asking these questions, we can have deeper discussions and pull out what we need to go forward. And the last thing I'll say about this before moving to the next one is by framing things to the what if question. It's not aggressive, and nobody owns it, right? So if somebody were to say, what if there were no teachers? It doesn't mean you want there to be no teachers, right? It doesn't mean that this is what you want. It's what we call a third space. So anytime you say something with what if, you're creating something that isn't connected to me, and it's not connected to you. It truly is connected to us, or it can be us, right? So asking these what if questions allow us to explore ideas that could be dangerous, that could be impossible, or other things. So now we should have a decent idea of what are the characteristics of this, and what would it look like if there were no teachers. And those crazy or dangerous questions will give us the elements that we actually need to go forward. And then I can share these slides, and I can share other slides, and I can engage with people, however you want in the future. But these are some quotes that I like to use in a lot of my talks, because some are from educators and some are from the business world, right? Merck is a multinational conglomerate. It's a huge corporation. And what they're saying is the number one skill that they need for workers is curiosity. And this report came out, I think, 4 years ago, and they've been putting out a new curiosity executive summary every year for the last 4 or 5 years. They're saying, give us coders, give us engineers, give us accountants, give us all of these people, but it doesn't matter if they're not curious. All of our workers are lacking curiosity. So now we've got a situation where we know that schools, traditional schooling, right, kills the curiosity the older we get. And now we have people from the other end of school, right, the business world, who are hiring our students, saying we need curious workers. And up until this point, the schools are doing nothing about it. Now we see educators like yourself who are coming in on a Sunday or on the weekend or overtime to make this happen, but we still don't have that critical mass yet of truly placing curiosity at the forefront of education. And I think men have an ability to bring this to not just men, but yeah, we have a unique ability. We bring it from a different angle. And the importance of curiosity. And I think you can see, when you're curious, whether you're a teacher or whether you're a student, these are the qualities that come with curiosity, about being inquisitive, being creative, high tolerance for distress, and openness, right? So again, I think it's really important that it doesn't matter your gender, as long as you're bringing these unique attributes to the classroom, it's important. And I think in terms of attracting more men to the classroom, in a lot of ways, the facts that everybody's talking about here, the fact that there are such low numbers of men in the classroom, we could probably make the assumption that a lot of men have no idea what's going on in the classroom, right? They have no idea what school is all about. So if we can start letting, if we want to attract more men teachers, if we can attract them in a way, letting them know that the classroom isn't just a place where you go and watch kids. You're not just another mother. You're not just giving people busy work. If you can let people know that school's changed, right? School's a place that you can come and you can be creative, that it's driven by curiosity, that it's collaborative, that you're building stuff. You're not just pointing fingers and correcting and marking papers, right? I think if more men realize not just how schools are changing, but how they have the power to help change students or our schools, right? I think that would be very attractive to a lot of them, right? That we need not just teachers, we need change makers to schools. And this is another fun quote I liked from the Harvard Business Review, is that, we've heard of IQ and we've probably heard of EQ, this emotional intelligence. Well, they're saying, well, what if CQ, or what if curiosity quotient is as important or more important than all of those? And the key phrase here, or a statement, is at the end where it says CQ, or curiosity, is the ultimate tool to produce simple solutions for complex problems. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do for a lot of subjects, right? As a teacher, you're trying to give something that's new and complex and communicate it in a way that's simple for your students or for learners. And I like to share this as well. Like, what if curiosity is discovery, progress is powered by surprise, and reality is the product of ideas we act upon? And that's why I love this group bringing everybody together. Is somebody had I don't know who to give proper credit. Somebody had the idea, like, look, here's a problem. We need more men in the classroom. Well, somebody had an idea. Let's talk about it. Let's take action on it. Well, how do we do that? Well, let's start bringing people together. Let's, bring people to start sharing their thoughts. Let's start. And what we're doing right now, you all might think we're on a Zoom call, but really what we're doing right now is we're creating a reality. Yeah. And it started with a question. What if we had more men in the classroom? What if we found a solution? What if you start asking these and you start creating a perpetual motion machine that starts leading from one question to action, one question to action, one question to action. And then it leads us to, well, what if, curiosity is humanity's superpower? And there was a lot of talk about technology. I love that. Like, we need more technology in the classroom. It's in the classroom. And that's how we're going to attract more men to the classroom. Well, what if you are the technology? I was just giving this talk yesterday. If you look at all of these specifications, self-powered, self-healing, manufacturing, self-learning, data storage, troubleshooting abilities, continuously adaptive, collaborative, self-replicating, biodegradable, that is not this, right? That's you. This is every man and woman on the planet, right? So what if we are the technology? Yeah. What if it's up to us to find a way to use who we are as humans, driven by our curiosity, to connect with the technology that we're creating to make the classrooms a better place? And before I finish, there's one more thing. I wasn't able to get it into the slide, but I just wanted to show, this is from the World Economic Forum. I'll just drop the link in the chat after this. But these are, the World Economic Forum has the top 10 skills of 2025. Yeah. And take a look at these. Let's analytical thinking and innovation, active learning and learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, originality and initiative, leadership and social influence, technology use, monitoring and control, technology design and programming, resilience, stress tolerance and flexibility, reason, problem solving, ideation, right? And the type of skill, problem solving, self-management, working with people, technology use and development. Two things come to mind. Well, one is these are all the skills we need, right? How do we get them? Well, curiosity affects all of these. Curiosity can generate all of these, right? And not only that, but when you look at these are which one of these don't attract to men, right? If you were to look at education and the skills we needed before, maybe there were some gaps and like, all right, this isn't like a traditional, traditional subjects that men would be interested in. But when you look at some or all of these skills, these are perfect. So one of the things is just communicating, I think. How do we communicate both how school and learning has changed, but also how do we communicate that if you're, if you want to get into education, not only has it changed, but you have the power to be a part of the change. And I think if we can kind of appeal to that side, that we're not just looking for teachers, we're looking for leaders. I think this will go a long way in getting more men into the classroom. And then once they're there, if they know once they're there, curiosity is their main tool to teach and to work with the students, I think a lot more people would be excited to get into this field. So, thank you again. I know I'll try to share in WhatsApp. I can share more of my information if anybody wants to
Sure.
contact me.
Sure.
All Gonzalo knows I can share all this freely. There's other
Yeah.
information, so more than happy. Appreciate this invitation.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Matt. You men are amazing, and you're doing a lot for the teaching profession. And so, a lot of others need to hear from you to be inspired to their next level in the classroom. Thank you very much. Drop all your questions in the chat box, and when we are done, we are going to take 5 minutes to give it to Prof to answer. Some will answer as well as Matt. Let's go to our final presentation for the day from Divine Lily Coffee. Divine?
Okay. Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah, good evening. I think I'm loving the presentations. I hope you
yeah,
cannot hear me.
sure.
Sure, I'm loving the presentation so much. Thank you very much. And as I said, it's an opportunity to learn. There are a few things I would want to highlight on some of the things that would help us to, as teachers, to give our best and as men. Number one, I see that one of the things that propel us is when we see the work we are doing as teachers as a duty. Number one, when you see it as a duty to God. If you see that whatever work you are doing is a duty to God and that one day you'll be accountable for it, you put in your best. You don't stay home, maybe you just have a slight headache and then you stay home as a teacher just because you have a little headache, you decide not to go to work and impact the young kids. If you understand that this is a duty to God, it would influence your attention, your creativity, your curiosity, and all those things. Number two, I see it as a duty to the nation. Sometimes I ask myself, assuming I knew that the student I was teaching would be the next president of Ghana or my country, I mean, will I be teaching the same way I'm teaching? Will I be interested in a person being committed, be the person giving all his best? Will I be committed to what I'm doing? So if you understand and see that whatever we are doing as teachers, as males in the classroom, is a duty to the nation, it would also influence our ability to give. And also to the student, as a duty to the student, we have a duty to the student to make them the best of themselves. Um, some students may never get the opportunity for anybody to guide or direct them. But you, the teacher, if you let you see that you have a duty to the student to make the student the best of whatever he can be, then you put in your best. And the last one is you have a duty to yourself as a teacher. That is your profession. So what are you doing to improve yourself every day so that you don't stay at one place? So as a teacher, you try to improve yourself because that is a duty you have to yourself. Now, just take a few other things. In the classroom, we are talking about males. And I normally say this, for some of the students, the only father figure they will ever have is that male teacher in the classroom. So if we are able to present ourselves, not just as a teacher, but also as a father to them, the angle to which we are educating them or what we are going to impact to them is going to be different. Also, if you are seeing that we are there as counselors, because some of the students, as I said earlier, they have challenges, they have issues. Some students are excellent, they are very good. But because of certain challenges they are having at home, they have nobody to talk to. So they come to the classroom and it's as if they are the worst of students. If you see yourself as a male teacher, as a counselor, you would be able to help them as a counselor and as a guide. You'll be able to help them, bring them out of the challenges they are facing. And believe me, they will begin to go and do exploits. And the final part is as an educator. Importantly, we are educators. And as an educator, you are training or whatever the people must be, or whatever we expect to see in the next generation, that is the work we are doing for them. So we must see that we have that role as male educators in the classroom to give them a sense of direction, to give them a sense of guidance, to let them see that they can achieve something, and putting everything together, they will be able to achieve whatever they intend to achieve. And then finally, I'll just mention a few C's. I call them the C's of effective teaching. Number one, we must care about the students. And for me, I care so much about my students. If you care about the students, then you build a certain relationship with the students, no matter how young they are. If you build that relationship with them, they will be able to see you. And I think Sam was talking about edutainment. So if you build a certain relationship with them, you can even entertain them. They will be able to come to you, talk to you. If they have difficulties in understanding one area or the other, they can easily talk to you. But we have situations where sometimes our teachers, students cannot even approach us.
Yeah.
So it might be something little they will just need some guidance on, and then you open their mind to understanding everything we have taught in class. But just because they can't approach you, that becomes a barrier, and then they are not able to make the best. And then the second one is challenging the students to work hard and think hard. We have a duty to challenge the students to think and work hard. Every student has the inbuilt potential to be successful. Every student that we teach, that is a principle I believe. It's something I have in mind that no student is dull. They may be good in different areas. So we have to challenge them to work hard and also think hard. And we also have to promote cooperation among their peers. Very, very important that we promote a certain cooperation. The students, as they in the classroom, they must cooperate, they must work with each other to be able to support each other. And I think Professor Gonzalo was talking about teachers working together, the male teachers and the female teachers. We must also build that same teamwork amongst
Yeah.
the students. There should be a certain level of cooperation and peer support so that the students can even help themselves. You know, there is something I learned with time that sometimes you may teach a topic and one student understand it very well. That student can even explain to their colleagues better than the teacher did. So the
Yeah.
teacher will try to go over and over and over. The students seem not to be getting it, but the other colleague just explains it in a certain direction and everything is clear.
Okay.
So we must also promote that cooperation and peer support. And also we must elicit feedback. We shouldn't just be interested in giving, and it's common with teachers. We want to impact, we want them to know, but it's important that we elicit feedback. How am I going? There's an account saying that from Ghana, they say that the the one who is weeding doesn't know that his back is turned. So if you don't elicit feedback, you might think that, oh, I'm doing extremely well, I'm doing so well, but in actual fact, you may be missing one or two things. So it's important that as teachers, we elicit feedback and respect the viewpoints of students. You know, I mean, I have a master's, maybe I have a PhD, and it's the temptation is to think that what can these students offer? But in the age in which you find ourselves, the things the students know, you won't believe it. And a lot of things are on the internet. Sometimes I remember one time I was teaching and then I said something. I needed another example to buttress the point I was making. I wasn't too sure. So I told them that this is one example. And then before I ended the class, a student had Googled to confirm whether what I was saying was right. Unfortunately for me, what I was saying was correct. So just and because I said I didn't have the example, the student added the other example. So we must respect their ideas, respect
Yeah.
their views, and also we shouldn't let the students feel stupid. You know, sometimes the students can give an answer which is way, way, way over the bar. But that student may not be a bad student, maybe might be having a bad day. So we encourage that the students, we don't make them look stupid, no matter how wrong the answers are, so that we will build their capacity. And then also we should correct and integrate ideas to support the learning process. You have to help in clarifying the idea. If they have any problems, the teachers, we should be willing, as men in the classroom, yes, as fathers, as counselors, as guides, as educators, we should be ready to
Great
clarify
privilege.
things to them. And then lastly, I think it would go with what Sami said. We must have, it should be captivating. The class, the students should love the class. Students shouldn't be afraid to come to class, so that if it's science time and every student is afraid what is going to happen, we are not going to enjoy this class. If we do that, it's not going to help our students. And one thing we must also know is that as teachers, we must be ready to give our best. And when you are giving 100% of yourself, believe me, the students know. I know it when my students are feeling every part of me. So you must be ready to give our best. People say that the teacher's reward is in heaven, because our salary is not as much as we want it. So we don't give to the best of our ability. But believe me, if you give your best, and one day you see your students that you helped become somebody, a minister, you'll be proud of the work that you did. And even as we do all these things, we would enhance effective teaching, build capacity of our young people, and we'll create a great nation for ourselves and for the next
Okay.
generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been 90 minutes or almost 90 minutes of your time, and I must bet it's the participants, you've all been consistent. It's only one person who has gone off, and it's been so amazing. Thank you very much to you all facilitators. Now let's come to the questions. I'm sure people have questions that they need answers to. Um, Benedine asked the question, and the question was actually directed to, let me see. Okay, so Benedine's question is, what if more men were placed in early childhood classrooms as educators? Would we see perspective change in our students? So Benedine's question, what if more men were placed in early childhood classrooms as educators? Would we see would we see perspectives change in our students? That's Benedict's question. Benedict, thank you. I see you. So who is taking Benedict's question? Who is answering?
I would like to talk about that. Probably
Okay,
I will
Prof.
not give I will not give a proper answer, but it's interesting to see that here in Argentina, the first we have an actor, a very well-known actor,